mobile app. We are live on YouTube and Twitter. Of course, there are multiple ways you could join the show. We appreciate wherever you're listening on 973 ESPN, in your car, your radio, on the app, 973ESPN.com. Glad to have you guys on board the show. We got a lot to get to. Eric Edholm from Yahoo Sports, great guy to talk about college football and the NFL. He talked to Jalen Hurts this week. We'll get his impressions on Hurts going into his first NFL season as a starting quarterback. Also, don't forget, still to come up in the show, we will get you our picks for the weekend, college football and NFL, a little bit later. And, of course, we will going to recap last night's game. A couple of thoughts I want to get to on last night's game specifically. And, as always, you could join the conversation. Text in 609-403-0973. Direct message the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. Of course, we got you covered on multiple fronts here on 97.3 ESPN. But first, I want to get to the Eagles news that came out today and what it means for Sunday. I have been telling you guys for a couple weeks now. I had concerns, and those concerns have been confirmed today. The good news is Brandon Brooks is good to go. So your offensive line is intact. That's the good news. The bad news is that no Rodney McLeod. Now, it might not be 100% bad news because you don't want a guy who's like 75, 80% out there if you can get him to about 90, 100%. But I told you guys before, and I've been saying this for biggest matchup problem you have in the Falcons game is Kyle Pitts. I'm not concerned about the Falcons defense. I'm not concerned about Calvin Ridley or Russell Gage or Mike Davis, okay? What I'm concerned about is Kyle Pitts was a matchup nightmare in the SEC last year. Every analyst on planet Earth thinks that this guy is going to be a Tony Gonzalez caliber tight end in the NFL. Just this superstar, elite athlete playing tight end who does everything great. And so I will repeat to you guys what I have been saying now for weeks now. I am concerned that when you have someone like Kyle Pitts out there, and your safeties are Anthony Harris and Marcus Epps is supposed to be the starter this week. My concern is I'm looking at this team and I'm wondering who's stopping Kyle Pitts. Now, you might just go into the game and say Darius Slay or Steven Nelson, that's your guy, go shut him down. But then if you do that, you're taking somebody away from the outside of the defense. The whole defense has to change if you are going to play man on one guy for the majority of the game. Because in many situations, outside of a handful of tight ends, the majority of defenses are built on a safety or a linebacker doing coverage on a tight end. Because the majority of tight ends are not super athletes. Usually a tight end is not as fast and not as quick and not as athletic as a wide receiver. And many times there just happen to be bigger or stronger than receivers as well. So you want a tight end or a safety on him to be able to handle the physicality, to be able to handle him in these different situations. But Kyle Pitts falls into a different category. He falls into the Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller type categories. And that's why I said to me, it's more like a Tony Gonzalez situation. Tony Gonzalez was a phenomenal athlete. And think about it this way. If you took Travis Kelce and Tony Gonzalez and merged them into one, that's what Kyle Pitts' potential is. And who on the Eagles defense is handling that? Listen, I'll give you my pick for the game a little bit later in the show because I do have a very strong opinion about how this game will go. But that opinion is also with factoring in that no Roddy McLeod means I have questions about the defense. Now, the other guy was ruled out for Sunday's game, Eagles-Falcons. You can hear all the action right here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 12 p.m. following the locker with Billy Schwein this Sunday. Landon Dickerson was also ruled out this week. That is significant because, as I told you guys recently, no Dickerson and no Jack Driscoll now, because remember, Driscoll is on the reserve injured list for a couple weeks. That means that if there is a injury or if there is somebody who has to miss any playing time on the offensive line, your backup right tackle, according to the depth chart on the Eagles website, is Brett Toth. And you have guys like Sua Opeta who are on the practice squad. And you have Nate Herbig as a backup interior lineman. And Andre Dillard is supposed to be your backup left tackle. Your two best backups, Dickerson and Driscoll, are not there. So my other concern in this game is your depth is concerning. If anything happens to your starting five offensive linemen, your plans have to change. You're going to have to adjust on the fly because as currently constructed, from left to right, you got Mailata, Sayamalu, Kelsey, Brooks, Johnson. That's a great offensive line. That is easily one of the five best offensive lines in the league. But if any one of those guys goes down, it changes what you have to do. It changes how you have to get the job done. So it is something to keep an eye on. It is something to keep in mind. It is something to kind of take a step back, recalibrate, and try to figure out as we move along. And as I promised, I will give you my full breakdown and pick for the Eagles game coming up about 40 minutes from now. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, we will get to all your messages as well a little bit later in the show here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Of course, you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We also take your messages over at 973 ESPN on YouTube and Twitter. And of course, at 609-403-0973 is the text board. Last night got me excited. And it wasn't just because we got the win in the hitting the over in the game. Last night got me excited because we got to see everything that we had been what-ifing about happen in real time. And the two big takeaways I took from the game last night is, number one, there's no moral victories in football, but man, let me tell you something. Dak Prescott looks like he's better than ever. I thought Dak performed at an incredibly high level last night. And seeing him play that well definitely makes you think, as most of us did, that this Cowboys team is going to be competitive every single week. Look, the Cowboys, I can't promise you they're going to win the division, because if push came to shove right now, honestly, I'm probably going with Washington to win the division. But the Cowboys can easily win 9-10 games because Dak is just that doggone talented. And realistically, they won where most teams win games last night, and that was in the turnover battle. They got the turnovers. But the biggest problem to me last night for the Cowboys was, without Zach Martin, it seemed like they had no confidence in running the football. Dak is phenomenally talented, but you got to keep defenses honest and run the football more than that. I look at their schedule coming up before their bye week. They got the Chargers next week, and Mike McCarthy said there's no Michael Gallup going to be available for next week. That changes the offense a little bit as well. Eagles the week after that, then the Panthers, the Giants, and the Patriots. I wouldn't be surprised if every one of those games is at worst a single score game. And if I had to put a number on it for them going into that bye week after 6 games, I think at worst they're 3-3. And frankly, they probably should be better than 3-3 because the Eagles game's a coin flip. The Carolina game they should win. The Giants game they should win. The Patriots game, that's a coin flip only because of the fact that it's in New England. I think that the Cowboys offense is just superior to what New England is going to offer, but it is in New England, so it kind of helps the defense. The Giants, Panthers, and Eagles games are in Dallas. So the Cowboys have a chance to be competitive in every game this year. The NFC East is wide open. But after watching that game last night, you can't win a game like that every week. You got to run the football. I don't care that Zach Martin was injured. And now La'el Collins is going to miss the next 5 games due to violating the substance abuse policy of the NFL. So no Gallup next week. No Collins next week. You're going against the Chargers. You're going to be in another shootout because it's Justin Herbert and the Chargers. You know it's going to be Dak versus Herbert for all the marbles, just chucking it up each side 40 to 45 times. That's all well and good. But you can't keep going through this season with running the football. And this is part of the reason why everybody hated Mike McCarthy at the end of his tenure in Green Bay. He became so egotistical that it was his way or the highway, that there was no other way to do things. And look at the other side of the ball. What happened with the Bucs? The Bucs have a committee of running backs. The Bucs have a group of running backs that can go out there and take pressure off of Tom Brady. Yeah, Brady still threw the ball 50 times. But the Cowboys only ran the ball 4 more times than Tampa. And actually, if you go by running backs alone, if you take out all other players off the sheet, Tampa had 13 rushes by running backs. The Cowboys had 14 rushes by running backs. And by the way, the Cowboys had 47 rushing yards. The Buccaneers had 46 rushing yards. But the difference is the catches by the running backs. Leonard Fournette had 5 catches. Giovanni Bernard had 2 catches last night. Ezekiel Elliott had 2 catches for 6 yards. Ezekiel Elliott is supposed to be one of the 5 best running backs in the league. You can't just give him the ball a total of 13 touches. He's got to be more involved in that. You got to not put so much pressure on the quarterback. And this is the flaw of Mike McCarthy, and this is the why I have no faith in this guy to be an NFL head coach moving forward. I understand he's got a Super Bowl ring on his hand, but so do a lot of coaches. There's a lot of dudes who had great players. Mike McCarthy has to prove his mettle this year. And after watching Hard Knocks, that dude is the most uninteresting, uninspiring load of blob in the NFL right now. The Cowboys are going to win 9-10 games because of Dak Prescott. And Mike McCarthy is going to probably lose them 1 or 2 games at minimum along the way because he has a Super Bowl ring. So we're all supposed to bow at the altar of Mike McCarthy. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget about my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL Week 1 is finally here. And all you need to do is log in to FanDuel Sportsbook to claim your risk-free bet. That's right. FanDuel is giving all customers a risk-free bet just in time for Week 1 of the NFL season. Offers like this are just one of the many reasons why I love betting football on FanDuel Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app in America. Because with FanDuel, their app is simple to use, and there's so many ways to play. You can bet the money line or take the over, throw some action on a prop bet, or build a same-game parlay bet. The choice is yours. So what are you waiting for? Celebrate the return of football with a risk-free bet on FanDuel Sportsbook today. And if you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, sign up today with promo code Hennig, and you'll also receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Yes, promo code Hennig to get your risk-free bet up to $1,000 exclusively on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, play and present in New Jersey. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coming up next, Yahoo Sports NFL writer Eric Edholm spoke to Jalen Hurts this week. What does he think about Hurts going into week 1 of the NFL season? We'll get his perspective on that and more next here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Saturday in the locker room with Billy Schwein. Scott McKay joins me in the studio as we get you ready for the Eagles opener. We'll talk with 5-time Pro Bowl selection who resides in the Eagles and Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame linebacker Bill Bergey at 11 a.m. We'll start our new segment with the sportsbook consigliere Dave Sharapan, live from Las Vegas during the football season with his 6-pack of picks. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN and the mobile app.
This week's featured bet is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Saturday in college football, the Cyhawk Trophy is on the line, and I'm taking the under 46.5 in Iowa versus Iowa State. Bet all the action. FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Are you looking for a rewarding new career? Join the United States Postal Service and apply for roles nationwide. Serve your community with pride and receive benefits, including competitive pay and opportunities for advancement. Whether you're looking for full-time, part-time, or seasonal positions, we have options that may be perfect for you. The United States Postal Service is an equal opportunity employer. Apply now at USPS.com/careers.
You asked for it. You got it. Fast Track Checkout at either Matt Blatt Kia location. Buy it your way. Complete your purchase online or have us deliver it during the Trade Up to a Kia sales event at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Toms River. Try Fast Track Checkout. Purchase completely online and have us deliver right to your home or office. Only at Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
This week at Macy's, we're setting our sights on fall with an extra 15 to 20% off the season's hottest trends with your coupon or Macy's card. Check out bold new color palettes and tonal pieces from Ink, Calvin Klein, and more. Fresh looks for him by Sun & Stone, Bar 3, and more. And update your space with bath and bedding from Oak, mindfully made and created for Macy's. Plus, Star Rewards members earn on every purchase, except gift card services and fees. Savings off selling clearance prices, exclusions apply.
I'm Mike Mackler. At Goldenberg Mackler, we represent you, not the insurance companies. When seriously injured in any type of accident, call us. We'll speak with you for free and fight to get you the money you deserve. When injured, make the right call to Goldenberg Mackler.
For the best lawyer, call Goldenberg Mackler with 4 convenient locations to better serve you. Atlantic City, Northfield, Rio Grande, and Vineland. Call us at 609-344-7131.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's opponents on Man vs. Train. At the crossing, we have Rick, a 175-pound frustrated man who's running late for work. And on the tracks, we have Bull, a 1 million-pound freight train that takes a mile to stop. Let's see who comes out on top.
You can't beat a train, so don't try. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Scott, is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/free. How much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
You know, New Jersey farmers work hard all year long to provide us with delicious Jersey Fresh fruits and vegetables. This is New Jersey Secretary of Agriculture Doug Fisher. When you buy Jersey Fresh, you're guaranteed that it's local and you're supporting our farmers. Stay loyal to local.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on a Football Friday edition of Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Another busy football weekend coming up. NFL Week 1 on Sunday, college football Week 3 tomorrow. And we'll get you the football picks a little bit later here on 97.3 ESPN. But right now, to get more into the football talk, he spoke with Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts a little bit earlier in this week. You check out the full interview over on Yahoo Sports. It is Eric Edholm joins us right now on the phone line here on 97.3 ESPN. Eric, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. What's going on? Thank you for promoting the video. Appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I don't want to give away too much of what he specifically said, but I want to ask you a little bit of a bigger picture, because it seems like when Jalen Hurts speaks, whether it's in a conversation one-on-one with you or in the general media, like at a press conference, when it comes to football topics, he is dead serious. Like, he is somebody, he's not there to play around. Like, no offense to Gardner Minshew, but it's hard to take a guy like him too seriously. Whereas Jalen Hurts, he's the complete opposite when it comes to his personality with football.
Yeah, it's a good point about Minshew, too. I hadn't even considered them both being in the same room now. But, yeah, I mean, I kind of noticed that when he was coming out for the draft, 2019 college season, 2020 draft, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Talking to people around the program, they said the same types of things that, you know, when it comes to ball, I mean, he's all business. You know, there's a charm in him. He's got a personality. You know, it's all there. But I think when it's business time, you kind of see what they see at the facility, whether it was Oklahoma, Alabama before that, or now the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think that's a great thing. And he was, you know, very, you know, sort of focused and on point with us. And it was tough for him too, because we had some technical issues and he had to sit around and wait. So I appreciate his patience and his willingness to, you know, to give a good interview after, you know, some delays and some technical problems. So that was, you know, I mean, he's a really mature kid.
I want to hit on the last point we just said, how mature he is. Yeah. He mentioned to you as well about the fact that he's now had to have 6 people who are calling plays for him. I mean, that in and of itself is absolutely wild. That you have a guy who is playing in the NFL and he's had to go through multiple people at Alabama, then to Oklahoma, and now his second guy with the Eagles. I mean, for some people, that would just drive them nuts.
Yeah, and, you know, you could argue that the Alabama system, quote unquote, was, you know, a lot of overlap one year to the next, and he was only the starting quarterback for 2 of those 3 seasons. So, you know, that said, moving on to Oklahoma, a vastly different offense, and then obviously 2 different systems that they've used the last 2 years of the Eagles, this year and last. It's really tough. You know, a word that might mean one thing in what you're used to could mean a totally different thing, or, you know, the length of the play calls, or, you know, the route depths could be different, everything. So it's not just an adjustment to different types of routes and things like that. There are so many different levels of responsibility. You know, it's like going from Portuguese to Japanese in some cases too, when it comes to the verbiage. So I'm always impressed when guys are forced into situations like that and it doesn't appear to affect their play. I mean, we can't really make a judgment on Jalen Hurts on last year because it was essentially an audition. It was was he thrust into a playoff race? Yes. Was he, did some good things come out? Yes. I don't think anyone can definitively say what he did last year is going to be indicative of what his career is going to be. But, he's handled himself with aplomb pretty much everywhere he's been, and he's made tangible strides along the way. So doing so under those conditions, even with all the talent that he had at Alabama and all the talent he had at Oklahoma, I still say that's pretty darn impressive.
Eric Edholm from Yahoo Sports joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Follow him on Twitter at Eric_Edholm. Check out his full interview with Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. Eric, looking at the Eagles' big picture, I want to know from you, a lot of people this week have been coming on our station talking about the Eagles' offensive line, and that's really the reason why they believe in the team. But if you ask the people who don't think the Eagles will be good this year, they always point to Sirianni and Hurts. Where do you fall in this? Because, we got one group of people who are like, they'll win 4 games like last year. Another group of people who are like, oh, they'll win 9-10 games. And I feel like those are both two extremes.
Yeah, I mean, I get the questioning of the head coach and the quarterback, right? Because of the fact that Nick Sirianni was a little bit of a surprise choice. I don't know that everybody was convinced he was the right choice. I think, some people are very much open-minded about it and wanting to see maybe a different type of energy in the building. He certainly is, seems to be bringing that. I understand that people look at Jalen Hurts and maybe don't see a traditional quarterback, whatever that means, because in this era, I don't know that there is a traditional quarterback. If anything, the dual threat quarterback has become more the accepted norm than, the Tom Brady's of the world, the pocket passers, the guys who lack mobility but can do special things with their arms. Now you have players who are more in the mold of Hurts, but I still get why there's some suspicion until we see otherwise. Do I think, those two guys are going to be the reason that the Eagles are going to be held back this year? Not necessarily. I mean, it could end up coming down to other factors, how the defense, develops and, who kind of steps up as the lead pass catchers and the go-to guys on offense, right? The ones who are kind of the volume targets, if you will, the ones you can, kind of lean on and rely on outside of the quarterback position. So it's really hard and in a lot of cases unfair to judge a first-year head coach. And going much beyond what we've known about them from college to talk about a quarterback with 4 NFL starts. I get why there's hesitation, but I also say, let's see what they can do. Let's see if they're a good match. I mean, if the Eagles are hesitant, it's fair to criticize. If there's a real opportunity for him to spread his wings and go, let's see what he's capable of.
Also, we should note that all 3 of the head coaches who led the Eagles to a Super Bowl appearance, Dick Vermeil, Andy Reid, and Doug Peterson, they all had losing records their first years. So people act like, if you're not good the first year, oh my goodness. Well, who was good their first year? Chip Kelly and Ray Rose. Look what happened to them. Yeah.
I'm here in Chicago. Matt Nagy was 12-4, had a home playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles. He was coach of the year over, some pretty good candidates, I would argue. So, right. We tend to overreact to what we see initially. And I think Doug started out 3-0 and then things kind of fell apart. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about that. But yeah, so obviously you want to even boil it down even farther than that. Our impressions of weeks 1 through 3 are going to be different from weeks 4 through 6. So yeah, I think there are some concerning things, but I'll use Sean McDermott up in Buffalo. And obviously I know some Eagles fans will remember him from the coaching staff in Philly, but
sure.
He was a guy who I was watching early in his career as a head coach, his first 5 or 6 games. And it felt like, boy, this guy doesn't have a feel for clock management and, how to manage a game. I think he's always sort of been this defensive guy. Maybe he's got too narrow a view. But by year 2, you saw him kind of correcting some of the clock and timeout mistakes that he'd made early in his career. Then in year 3, you started seeing him really become this kind of force and this respected coach, and all of a sudden now they're on the verge of a Super Bowl. So, sometimes the progression happens the way it did with McDermott, where you're not sure at first, you have some questions, they start getting answered one by one, and eventually they kind of figure it out. Other guys never do. So, yeah, I mean, whether it's one game, half a season, even a full year, I don't know that's why firing a coach after 1 year, there better be some real cause there. There better be some stuff behind the scenes that you're aware of that is, very concerning to the point where you have to admit your mistake and move on. And luckily those are exceptions to the rule, but we've still seen a few instances of the 1 year coach in the NFL. And, I would hope that teams would have their homework on a lot of other things before they had to worry about such things. But reacting to what happens on the field based on media and fan expectations, that doesn't seem like a smart model for an NFL team to follow.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I'm reacting to. I mentioned it before you came on, Eric. I'm watching that game last night, and between that and Hard Knocks, I'm certainly convinced that Mike McCarthy might be the most overrated coach in the NFL, because I just don't understand. First of all, the guy is the most uninspiring person who drops F-bombs I've ever heard in my life. Like, the dude kept cursing in Hard Knocks, like he thought cursing would make him more interesting, but it didn't. And then last night, Ezekiel Elliott had 14 touches in the entire game? I don't understand how you're supposed to be an offensive coach. You go into a game versus the Bucs. You're supposed to play keep away against Brady. That's like the old formula. You play keep away. And what do? Yeah. They ask Dak to chuck the ball. Listen, Dak looked great, but it was not because of McCarthy. It was in spite of McCarthy to me.
Yeah, I'll give you – I think there are people who definitely agree with, whether it's, former players, current players, agents, people who were in Green Bay with him, who know Mike's background, who have said, look, he can be a stubborn guy. He hasn't always learned from his mistakes. Is he a very talented quarterback coach and offensive designer, big picture? Absolutely. I think so. And he gets the big picture, I think. He's always been criticized as somebody who, at times would throw the ball too much. But last night, and for a guy who made 0 tackles in the game, it's crazy to say it, but Vita Vea might have been the most dominant player on the field last night at times, right? Non-quarterback anyway. So watching him continually abuse Tyler Biadasz at center, or Williams or whoever else he was going up against, they even put him in a wide 9 technique at one point. So I don't know how much success Dallas would have had running up the gut every single time. Do I think there maybe should have been a little bit better balance? Yes. But at the same time, I think after a certain point in that game, they saw what Dak was capable of. They saw that the offensive line wasn't getting manhandled in pass protection as badly as maybe some had, predicted pregame. And so I think, I don't know. I really believe that was more of a game flow thing than anything else. But yeah, when they did run the ball, they had moderate success, a lot of, medium gains and things like that. But to try to do it consistently down against the Bucs front, I don't know. I might disagree with you a little bit on that one. I get the big picture of what you're saying, though.
Eric Edholm from Yahoo Sports joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Follow him on Twitter at Eric_Edholm. He also covers college football with the NFL draft. Eric, I got a couple college football questions for you. After last week, and I know it's only 1 week, but I got some serious concerns about Spencer Rattler as a prospect, because this is now 2 straight years where he has thrown some very strange interceptions against underwhelming competition. And I was told all offseason, the Spencer Rattler you saw at the end of the year is the real Spencer Rattler. And then last week's game, he throws those interceptions. I had to hit the rewind button on my Comcast. I'm like, did I watch that correctly? And I got to tell you something. If I'm going off of only week 1, I don't know if Spencer Rattler should be a top, 5 prospect in the NFL draft after watching that game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have, similar concerns, because for as good as he can look on, let's say, 7 out of 10 throws or passing plays, there are two that aren't great, and then there's one that really frightens you. There were a couple other plays last year that I noted that weren't interceptions or weren't turnovers, but certainly could have been. And that was one of my notes that I made this summer, was that he plays fast and loose, right? I mean, he kind of he puts the ball in harm's way at times, and he trusts his own arm talent, his own ability a little bit too much. So on the one hand, you say to yourself, okay, it's great to have a riverboat gambler who's got some guts and, believes in his own ability. On the other, you have to know your limitations and also play within the scheme too, because they've got a good one down there, right? I mean, not just Jalen Hurts, obviously, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and whatnot. I mean, they've cranked out some pretty good talent there, and it's not just the system doing it. So, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think there's always going to be some hesitation because of that element of his game where he plays a little too risky and, doesn't give what the defense, or doesn't take what the defense gives him. I think it's going to be interesting to see where he is at the end of the season. He'll have about as many starts, not quite, a couple fewer, but about as many starts as Patrick Mahomes did, who started for about 2.5 years at Texas Tech. And I mean, there were people who put second and third round grades on Mahomes coming out because of the wild attempts, the Brett Favre type plays that he made in college. And sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. They backfired horribly. I don't know if look, Oklahoma's supposed to have a better defense this year. I know that last week didn't really show it. Mahomes felt like he had to play that way at times. I don't know that Rattler should feel that way this year, even though we watched Tulane just drop 35 on him. So we'll see. I mean, if he can curb that just a little bit, there's a lot of special talent in there that can be cultivated.
In your article over at yahoo.com, you talk about NFL draft prospects to watch this weekend. And one of them you mentioned that is very interesting to me is Kenny Pickett. And the reason why I bring that up is because I think that this Tennessee Pitt game is probably going to be the most unknown game of the weekend. I mean, it's in Tennessee. Pitt's favored on the money, on the spreads. And I'm just like, this is an interesting game because this could either make or break, a lot of people's perception of both of these teams. And let's be realistic. Pickett at times has looked really good, and at times he's looked really bad. So to me, that Pitt versus Tennessee game is going to answer a lot of questions tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I obviously, new blood at Tennessee and kind of an interesting situation there. I don't know how quick the turnaround will be. They lost some players in the offseason, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I think the secondary is decent. The pass rush is good. So there's at least some defensive talent, even with, the linebacker they lost to Alabama, et cetera, et cetera. But Pickett, as you mentioned, fifth-year senior, he's been banged up at times. He's definitely shown more ability than I thought he had. There was a point in his career where you sort of thought, okay, this is like a tough, smart kid playing quarterback, and, his arm's okay. But, well, I don't know about that. I mean, last year, he before he got hurt, he was really stringing some nice throws, and I thought flashed an NFL caliber arm. I think most teams will have a draftable grade on him at this point and adjust it based on what he does this season. And I think you're right. This game has a great opportunity for him because, and it's not just him, of course, but in terms of being a prospect, you think about it as a one guy situation, but when they face Clemson and when they face the big dogs, they've gotten manhandled a lot. There have been plenty of games where he's beaten up on equal competition or played well in shootouts. And I think he throws well on the move. He's got some toughness. There's an interesting quality to his game. I don't know if he's ever an NFL starter, but I think he's a good player. And this one, you're right. I mean, it's going to be a loud environment at Tennessee, and I'll be fascinated to see how he fares.
He's Eric Edholm. Give him a follow on Twitter at Eric_Edholm. The piece is 5 NFL draft prospects to watch this weekend. And I'll give you guys a tease. All 3 defensive players he mentions in there, I love them. So go check it out. Go see the full list over at Yahoo. And, of course, check out his conversation with Jalen Hurts over at Yahoo Sports as well. Eric, always appreciate talking with you. Love the insights. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, man. We'll talk to you down the road, and let's see what happens in that Eagles game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep our fingers crossed. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Always enjoy talking to Eric Edholm here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. All right, on the other side, we got picks, we got games to watch, and it's all being brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Casino in Atlantic City. Bet all the action in style this football season at the state-of-the-art FanDuel Sportsbook just off the boardwalk at Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All the picks, all the games to watch coming up, and your guys' messages. Text board 609-403-0973. Direct message the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live. You can watch the show on YouTube and Twitter. Just follow at 973 ESPN.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles open the 2021 season this Sunday in Atlanta against the Falcons.
Lions back. Here comes the rush. He's hit. They've got him back at the 35.
Game coverage begins at noon. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 1. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
NFL Week 1 is finally here. The fridge is stocked. The recliner is ready. Now all you need to do is log in to FanDuel Sportsbook and claim your risk-free bet. That's right. FanDuel is giving all customers a risk-free bet just in time for Week 1 of the season. Offers like this are just one of the many reasons I love betting football on FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. With FanDuel Sportsbook, their app is simple to use, and there are so many ways to play. Celebrate the return of football with a risk-free bet on FanDuel Sportsbook today. And if you're a new customer to FanDuel Sportsbook, sign up today with promo code Hennig. You'll also receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code Hennig for new customers on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play and present in New Jersey. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. number of people doing business online has skyrocketed since the pandemic hit last year. So it has never been more important than now to make sure your business can be found online. Town Square can help you find more local customers with premium website services to help you grow your business faster. When you visit mylocalcustomers.com. At mylocalcustomers.com, you will find out how it's fast and easy to work with Town Square to get you new leads every day. There are no contracts, and it's a subscription you can cancel anytime. Visit mylocalcustomers.com today to receive a free competitive analysis. Be one of the first to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. At mylocalcustomers.com, you will work with a dedicated marketing specialist to help you grow your business. Don't wait. Visit mylocalcustomers.com today to learn more about how Town Square can help you grow your business. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Download it from the Apple App Store or from Google Play. Get it on your phone. You're going to see the updates throughout the day. We got you the Rodney McLeod and the Brandon Brooks news early in the day today. Also, you would have seen my latest. I gave you guys a couple weeks ago Atlantic County bars and restaurants to go check out football this season. Now I got you Bay County. So go to 97.3 ESPN.com. Go to the 97.3 ESPN mobile app and check that out. Give us a little feedback on what you think of the list. I'll get you my full Football Friday picks coming up in just a couple minutes here, as well as my pick for the Eagles game this Sunday right here on 97.3 ESPN. But first, as always, I'd like to hear from you guys as well out there. By the way, shout out to Jalen watching on YouTube. Good to see you out there. Hope you are having a great night as well, Jalen. Appreciate you joining us watching on the YouTube stream. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, George chimes in and disagrees with me a little bit about the Mike McCarthy comments. He says, Josh, I disagree with your criticism of Mike McCarthy's game management. That offensive line was getting annihilated by the Bucs defensive line on almost nearly every play. I think that's why you saw more Tony Pollard in that game. You could turn a game into a 50-50 proposition by turning it into a shootout. I thought that was an effective game plan that gave them a real chance to pull the upset. Just my 2 cents from an Eagles fan, from George. George, nothing you said there is invalid. You are 100% right. The idea of turning a game into a shootout keeps you in the game more likely than not, because the more times you chuck it, the better odds you're going to hit on one of those big plays. But historically, the way to beat Brady has always been the play keep away. When the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, they kept the ball away from the Patriots as often as possible. The Giants did the same thing in their 2 Super Bowl championships. Every time teams beat Brady, it's typically because they play keep away and they get turnovers. Well, the Cowboys got a few turnovers. That's what gets overlooked. The defense actually got some turnovers. They actually got the ball back. But the problem was the offense didn't keep the ball long enough. And to me, that's a major concern. And I think that's really where, I kind of draw the line. That's where I walk the chalk in that situation. To me, I think Mike McCarthy, as Eric Edholm just said a little bit earlier, his ego gets in the way. So I understand that the offensive line was getting beat up by the Bucs defensive line, but let me ask you a question. Were they getting beat up because the Bucs knew they were going to pass on every down and they could just pin back their ears and go after the quarterback? If you would have run the ball a little more, maybe the defense is less on their toes and maybe a little more flat-footed, giving those passing opportunities even more chances to make completions. Just a thought. Not saying that's what would have happened, but that's at least how I'm looking at it. But George, I appreciate you chiming in to the show. Of course, everyone can join the conversation. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Direct message the show, priority messaging through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And, of course, shout out to Jalen, who's watching us over on YouTube at 973 ESPN. All right. As promised, Football Friday picks. We got a full slate of games that we are going to watch this weekend. And the picks are being brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's, Atlantic City. Yes, football season is in full swing. You can catch all the action at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. It's time to experience sports betting done right. With live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get in on all the games you love at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's, Atlantic City. The retail sportsbook is conveniently located right off the boardwalk, featuring 5 betting windows, a large video wall, a sports ticker, 20 self-service betting kiosks, and various lounge seats. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet with FanDuel Sportsbook only at Bally's off the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So, if you want to get on the action this weekend, here are some of the games that I am keeping an eye on this weekend. First, we'll hit the NFL. I promised you guys I would give you my analysis of the Eagles game. To me, the Eagles game comes down to the fact that I think two things are just cannot be disputed. Number one, the Eagles offensive line is better than the Falcons defensive line, and the Eagles defensive line is better than the Falcons offensive line. I believe the Eagles will win in the trenches on Sunday. I just think that with a new coaching staff, they have this new reinvigorated focus and desire to show that they are still winning championship caliber team. This team, to me, as I told you guys all year long, can win that over 6.5 on the spread. To me, this is a 7, 8, 9 win team. And I think it starts this Sunday in Atlanta. Eagles are +3 over at FanDuel Sportsbook. If you want to go over to Bally's in Atlantic City and go place a bet. So I'm taking the +3 on the Eagles. And I think the Eagles win 21-17. Or, the reason I say or is because there's two ways this game will go, in my opinion. 30-24 Eagles. And here's why I say that. This game is either going to be a game that it's low scoring in the first half and it picks up in the second, or it's going to be a game that is going to be even paced throughout and both teams use their running backs more than we expect, because Mike Davis is a grinder. And I think the Eagles didn't have all these running backs and not use them. I would not be surprised if both Nick Sirianni and Arthur Smith, who are familiar with each other from the AFC South, Smith in Tennessee, Sirianni in Indianapolis, if they both don't try to play keep away and slow the game down. So if they slow the game down, I can see it being 21-17 Eagles. If it's a game that picks up in the scoring second half, I can see it being like 28-24 or 31-24 Eagles, but I have the Eagles covering the +3 either way. The other NFL games I'm talking to you about here on Football Friday, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook and Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Jets at Panthers. Give me the -3.5. I think the Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson connection is going to go wild against the Jets team that is just not there yet in their rebuild. I think Joe Douglas needs another offseason to fully retool this roster. Also, Dolphins at Patriots. Give me the under 43.5. Belichick versus Flores. Two defensive-minded coaches. Give me the under in that game. Also, Packers -3.5 versus the Saints in Jacksonville, not New Orleans. The Saints have been practicing everywhere but home. I think it's maybe too much strain on them. I think the Packers run away with this game by winning by at least a touchdown or two at the end of the game. So give me the Packers -3.5. So those are my NFL games to play this weekend. Now the college football slate, something that you all know me for very well. Let's run these down. Western Kentucky at Army. Give me the under 51.5. This game opened at 53.5, so all people are betting the under 2. Army is going to control the ball in this game, and Western Kentucky doesn't have the firepower to overcome that slowdown of the game. Iowa State, under 46.5. Both these teams allowed 10 or less points on defense in their last game. Rivalry games usually end up being slugfest. I think it's going to be very physical. Give me the under in that game. Also, Texas at Arkansas, under 56.5. Two teams that love to run the ball. Arkansas, 245 rushing yards last week. Texas running back Bijan Robinson should have a big game tomorrow. So give me the under 56.5 in that game. Missouri at Kentucky. Give me Kentucky minus 5.5. Missouri allowed 24 points last week to Central Michigan, while Kentucky totaled 564 total yards in their game. Give me the Wildcats. Also, give me USC minus 17.5. Stanford looked horrible defensively against Kansas State. I expect USC to run away with this game. And then finally, NC State at Mississippi State. Give me the over 55.5. NC State scored 45 points last week. Mississippi State scored 35 points. These are two teams that have a ton of offense, not a lot of defense. I'm expecting a shootout in that game. Thanks to Eric Edholm from Yahoo Sports for joining the show today. Hope everyone has a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday here on Game Night. Have a great night, everybody.
Tomorrow on Compass Media Network's coverage of NCAA football. Throw out the records and the rankings as we bring you the battle for the state of Iowa and the Cy-Hawk Trophy. As Coach Matt Campbell looks to lead the Cyclones to victory over Coach Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes. It's Iowa State and Iowa. If it's college football, it's right here.
Listen every Saturday for the nation's top college football action on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 4 p.m.
Welcome to Parent Teacher Night. Oh,